Barack Obama's on the campaign trail, and this is an important point for him to raise. I take a lot of issues. I have a lot of problems with Barack Obama, many which existed at the time, some which have been exacerbated in his. Sometimes when you see someone finish up, you start to reinterpret other things. But certainly I had problems with the way that he dealt with the financial crisis. I had problems with his Assassination Tuesdays and his drone strikes, and his, in many respects, sort of like legally codifying some of the worst illegalities of the Bush administration. But this, I think, clip exhibits that even some of the most flawed and not particularly helpful Democratic presidents do basic governmental functions better. This is all true what Barack Obama says here about Donald Trump's approach to COVID.
Listen, when I was president, I'll give you just one other example. And I want you to use this example when you're talking to folks who say it's not going to make any difference. I had been talking to scientists for a while, and so in my last year in office, we put together a playbook for how to deal with the eventuality of a pandemic. Because scientists had been saying with globalization and travel, et cetera, rising populations, that at some point there was going to be a pandemic. And so I said to my team, I said, we got to have a plan, just like you do for hurricanes or tornadoes or natural disasters. So we put together this whole playbook. And we practiced the playbook. We'd get all the agencies. This is how we're going to respond. This is how to make sure that the public health systems in all the states are working. Here's how we're going to think about the schools. And when Donald Trump came in, we gave over this playbook to them. And but the point is, he ignored it. And 3 years later, a pandemic hits. Now, I want to really be fair on this, but I want everybody to pay attention. No matter who was president at the time, this was going to be a problem. This was a generational pandemic. People were going to get sick. People were going to die. We didn't have a vaccine right away. Businesses were going to have to shut down for a while. Travel was going to be restricted. But if you look at a country like Canada, their per capita death rate was 40% lower than it was here in the United States. So just do the math. That's more than 400,000 people. People's grandmothers, people's fathers, people's moms, who would have been alive if Donald Trump had just paid attention and tried to follow the plan that we gave him. It might have been somebody in your family that could have been impacted. So if somebody tells you that this doesn't make a difference, having somebody competent, somebody who cares about you, who listens to ordinary people, who listens to people who are experts in these areas, if you hear somebody say it doesn't matter, it does matter. And at some point, it will make a difference to them. And if that's...
I mean, 400,000 people is a lot of people. The way that this country sort of just simply accepted well over 1 million people dying, and the way that this country has accepted the idea of God knows how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, we don't know yet, who'll be suffering from long COVID is nuts. The idea that still, even today, we don't recognize that there are people who are immunocompromised or people who can't afford a vaccination. But the fact of the matter is, in 2020, early in 2020, Politico got a hold of the National Security Council's 69-page COVID playbook that is there sufficient personal protective equipment for healthcare workers who are providing medical care? The playbook instructs its readers as one early decision that officials should address when facing a potential pandemic. If yes, what are the triggers to signal exhaustion of supplies? Are additional supplies available? If no, should the Strategic National Stockpile release PPE to states? I mean, it goes on and on. It's fascinating. The guidebook was developed in 2016 with the goal of assisting leaders in, quote, coordinating a complex U.S. government response to a high consequence emerging disease threat anywhere in the world. We had a couple of months warning that this was coming. We had a couple of months warning. The playbook lists types of infectious disease threats that could emerge. Novel coronaviruses were among pathogens flagged as having potential to cause heightened concern. They were handed this playbook. They booted it. They fundamentally are against the government serving in this capacity. It is an ideological bedrock. It's not just Donald Trump's incompetence. You listen to, you look back at George Bush privatizing FEMA, and the Republican Party is only moved further in that extreme. One decent thing that I could suggest that Obama was saying there. But Donald Trump recently went on the Patrick Bet-David show. Wasn't Patrick Bet-David saying he wasn't going to do interviews or what? I can't remember. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.